My name is Luigi Rizzo, and I work at the University of Pisa in the Dipartimento di Ingegneria dell'Informazione.
I am Marta Carbone, and I'm involved in the emulation project for the OneLab.
In OneLab 2, we are doing the network emulation part, which is a way to let user modify the behavior of communication links to configure the features and so run experiments in systems that resemble the behavior of machines behind the residential links, wireless networks, 3G devices, and so on.
For example, a user wants to test how an application performs on a DSL line that have a different kind of connection of the OneLab network nodes. For example, you can configure an asymmetrical link with a different bandwidth in upstream and downstream, and then configure the emulation around the tests, and the links will perform as a DSL link.
The idea is that when you build a distributed application, especially these days, you have a lot of users that are connected with the media that I mentioned before. And unfortunately, on PlanetLab, most of the nodes are very well connected to the network with very high-speed links. So in a way, the platform is great to use to run experiments because of its scale, but it doesn't reproduce very well the heterogeneity of nodes in typical commercial setup. That's why researchers would use this kind of feature, this emulation feature, to modify the behavior of the platforms.
Emulation is now a basic element in PlanetLab distribution. Users develop their software and distribute it on the nodes. Before running the experiment, or even during the experiment, users run a one-line command and specify which kind of traffic is subject to emulation. Users can modify bandwidth, delay, packet loss rate, set the queue size and scheduling policy, all independent of each other. During the experiment, you can also modify the behavior of the link as many times as you like.
The typical use case is, for instance, you are trying an experiment which involves data distribution, a peer-to-peer application, and you select peers based on available bandwidth. Now, when you do that, the bandwidth of users might change because of local congestion, for instance, in an ISP, and that's one of the things that you can try. You can see if your peer selection mechanism works well and adapts to modification in the behavior of the network by reconfigure the bandwidth of one of the nodes and see if the other nodes recognize this situation and move to someone else, for instance. You can set either an emulated link that affects only a particular source-destination pair, or you can set an emulated link that affects all traffic going out from a port range on your machine or coming from a port range on a remote machine. The mechanism is very, very flexible because the packet filter that is used to select traffic has many, many options.
To begin using emulation, consult the PlanetLab User's Guide.